Welcome back everyone to Pontos Fathom Hobbies. This is Season 3 of War of the Ring, and we are playing the Warriors of Middle-earth expansion. And I'm going to do a little bit of fly-through on this setup board, so you guys can kind of showcase the minis here. We're also playing with the Lords of Middle-earth expansion, so you can see we've got Gandalf the White on the horseback. We've got the Balrog and the other minis here that'll be from Lords of Middle-earth are Galadriel, Elrond is there. But let's focus on some of these new characters. Like, for example, the Warriors of Middle-earth has the Ents of Fangorn. It's got the Corsairs that start in Umbar. It's got a couple of spiders, Shelob spiders, you can see here, that they're going to start in Mirkwood and in Minas Morgul. You have the Hillmen that start in Dunland. And then, of course, you've got the Eagles that are starting out in Eagles Eyrie. And then, of course, you've got your standard figures like our Fellowship is set up here. You've got our Dwarves. You've got a number of Elves in Lorien and Arendelle. You've got our Northmen. You've got our forces of Gondor in Minas Tirith, and you've got our Helm's Deep, Rohirrim, the Riders of Rohan. You've got our Southernlings and Westernlings here, and you've got the forces of Sauron in Mordor with the Nazgul and Orcs, and then finally we've got our Orthanc forces here. So I'm going to get us mounted back up here on the tripod. Just doing a little something different today. Of course, I could have produced that better, but you know, my style is just turn on the camera and go. So if we mostly have the board set up, I'll go through a little bit of the setup. Obviously, there's people who do this much better than I do, but I will walk us through the setup of Season 3. This will be my first time playing Warriors of Middle-earth. As you can tell, I've got all these minis painted, and I got these cool storage boxes. These are great for Middle-earth. So I'm going to get these are the reserves, get them off the board. I'll walk us through the mechanics for the three setups, which cards are in play, which cards are out of play, and then we'll jump right into turn number 1. I will also walk us through the main mechanics of the Warriors of Middle-earth, and then we can start turn 1. Before we go, quick shout out to our sponsor, Pontos Fathom Press. As you guys know, we've got a sister channel, Pontos Fathom Press YouTube channel, and a bookstore. Disclosure from the Necronomicon Fragment, Volumes 1, 2, and 3. These are all standalone books, so if you're interested in Necromancy of Nyarlathotep, the Alchemy of Azathoth, or the Hermeticism of Hastur, go check these out in the bookstore. There's lots of other books down there. Helps us support our channel. We've also got a Patreon that you can get on board with, and as usual, your comments all read, very much appreciated. We're looking to get to 1,000 subscribers, and thanks for helping out in that task. Ring the bell. You can be notified when we have new videos come up. I've been doing quite a bit of Joan of Arc gameplay, and I'm starting to get into A Song of Ice and Fire. I just painted up the Stark versus Lannister set and did a tabletop of that. I'll be doing the Baratheon paint through, and I'm going to be doing the Joan of Arc Time of Legends Apocalypse paint through. These are awesome minis, angels and demons, the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse. You guys are going to love this stuff. So go check them out, and thanks for your support. Okay, so what we've got on the board here is basically you've got the standard War of the Ring set up. You know, so we've placed all of our armies. We've got our decks set up, and we've got the Fellowship set up. But to include the Warriors of Middle-earth and the Warriors of Middle-earth and Lords of Middle-earth, there's a couple of mods here. So first of all, just to help me in solo play, the characters of Lords of Middle-earth and Warriors of Middle-earth, they don't start on the board, okay? So even though I've got them start on the board, this is more just to remind me as I'm playing that it's a visual cue for me. So I mean, I could lay them down, I guess, and say that they're not sort of in play yet, but I don't think I'll do it. I'll just have them standing up, and we'll know that unless I activate them. Or maybe I'll put like an activation token. Like I'll put a token on each of these to say they're not activated yet. So maybe I'll put a token here on the Ghost Army. I'll find some way to indicate it before then. And then when I take that token off, they'll be activated. So just to give me the clue. But the idea here is there's a number of new characters. So from the Shadow player side, we've got, from both games, you get Saruman, the Mouth of Sauron. There's two versions of the Mouth of Sauron. There's a horseback one and a black Numenorian one. There's two versions of the Witch King. One of them is flying on his, like, Nazgul style. There's also the Balrog of Moria, and there's Gothmog as well, the Lieutenant of Morgul. And then we've got, for our free folk, we've got Aragorn, heir to Isildur. We've got Gandalf the White, which are sort of the upgrade versions of Strider and Gandalf the Grey. We've got Gollum, but there's also a Smeagol card. So we can also play Smeagol as an alternate card where Gollum can become Smeagol. We'll get into that. Here's the Smeagol card. So it's the Tamed Wretch version. So we can flip to him. And then we have, as I mentioned, Lady Galadriel, Lord Elrond, and finally we get Treebeard as characters. So those will be in reserve. And then we've got, as I mentioned from the minis, we've got the Corsairs, the Eagles of the Misty Mountains, the Ents of Fangorn, the Dead Men of Dunharrow, the Brood of Shelob, and the Hillmen of Dunlin. So they also have to activate, for example, the Hillmen of Dunlin. We start these two here if Aragorn comes to this space. So Aragorn can go seek them. And it's actually Strider or Aragorn. Let's see, this is the Dead Men. So the Dead Men are always together in one region. Starting setup is 2 in Eric. So once Aragorn goes there, we activate them, and then they'll be activated. Other things that are interesting are the new dice that get added. So you can see here that there's a number of dice. So as ring bearers, you get a die for each of Elrond, Galadriel, and Gandalf, because Gandalf is one of the ring bearers. So these dice give us extra powers. That's from Lords of Middle-earth. And I can just review that real quickly. So if you see these dice, Elrond has Vilya, and he gets a number of events. He also has an army remove. Galadriel has her die, and she has Nenya, and Gandalf has Narya. So those are theirs. And then for the Warriors of Middle-earth, we get some new dice as well. We get the faction dice, one for the Shadow forces and one for the Free People. So this is the die for the Shadow, and this is the die for the Free People. And those allow us to activate another mechanism. So in addition to the 2 decks of cards, we actually have a deck of cards that works for the factions. So this faction deck is in addition to those cards, and we can draw those on each turn. Finally, a couple of things that we'll call out is there are some alternate cards. For example, now that we have a Balrog character, the Balrog of Moria card gets pulled out of the deck. Same with Shelob, because we have the Shelob now we pulled out of the deck, and we replace these cards that are meant to be, I guess they're sort of like, in the main box set, these were the cards that gave us that immersion of having Ents and having the Dead Men and having the Eagles. But now that we actually have Eagle factions, we're going to play those with this new deck. So these sort of placeholders come out, and now we get to have the live action. And then we also have some alternate cards. I've already gone through and placed the ones in the Fellowship deck. We're going to have Gandalf the Grey as the leader of the Fellowship. I'll go ahead and get our fellowship track set up, get our power track set up, also get the political track set up with the tokens, and we can jump into turn 1. So thanks a lot, guys, for watching. We'll see you in turn 1. Click over here. If you're watching this in the future, you can also just check on the playlist and watch it all the way through. And as usual, you can subscribe. So thanks a lot for watching. We'll see you in turn 1. Bye-bye.